Today I'm going to go over how to design your poster following the CARP design principles. The C in CARP stands for contrast. When you think of contrast, you want to make sure that your writing or things on the poster stand out to the reader. You also want to make it easy to read. Here's an example of good contrast. The font color is white and the background is black, making it easy to read. This is a bad example of contrast. You have the pink letters on a red background, which makes it hard to read. Here's another example, but this one is a good example of contrast. The background is a light color and the font is dark so that the reader can easily read it. This is an example that is not good contrast. It makes it hard to read on the eyes because of the yellow font with a light colored background. And lastly, we have a good example of contrast. The white letters on a blue background make it easy to read. When you are designing your poster, think about how your colors go together and how you can make your words or drawings stand out by using contrast. The A in CARP stands for alignment. Alignment simply means a line, making sure things are lined up. Our brain likes when things feel right or are aligned. For example, in this picture, all of the dogs are lined up and all the words are lined up. This makes it easy to read. In this example, it is not aligned. It is confusing and makes it difficult to understand what the reader should be reading first. This is another example of misalignment. The words are not lined up. However, the dogs are lined up at the bottom of the page. You want everything to be lined up, your text with your image. This is a good example of alignment. I can clearly see a line, a line, a line, and the dogs underneath each word. The R in CARP stands for repetition or repeat. Our brains like patterns that are predictable. So we want to repeat things. Here, the letters are all different. We are not repeating the same font, which makes my brain confused and makes it hard to read. The colors change as well as the size and the type of font, making it difficult to read. This is an example of repeat because it has a pattern that goes from white to yellow, so my brain knows what to expect. This is an example of repeating as well because it keeps the same font and the same color. That is a predictable pattern for the brain. When you're thinking of repetition, you want to think of the font that you're using or how you write and the size. You want to try to keep them similar. The last one is proximity. Proximity is basically placement on your poster. When you think of proximity, you want to think of grouping. We want to group similar items together. Here's an example. All the fish are scattered. When I group them together, it makes it easier to distinguish how they're alike and how they're different. You want to make the grouping obvious. Our brains have to work harder if related items are scattered around the page. Look at this example. Here's before thinking about grouping and proximity. Now, this is much easier to read because things that are alike are grouped together. We want to separate unrelated information. Space is just as important as content. So, when you're designing your posters, remember contrast, alignment, repetition, and proximity. Have fun!